The month of August absolutely having flown by. Here we are now sitting at the 1st of September. The absolute perfect day of the month to join any Patreon channel. Why? Well, you get the maximum amount for whatever they're charging. Here at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, we charge the lowest allowable level of $1 per month. And this coming weekend, no later than Monday, we're going to have a video up that's going to give you a specific tool, something you can use that might save your life or keep you free. You're definitely going to want to tune into this video because it's something they only teach in the military, and to my mind, only military intelligence. It's about threat identification. How can you know if someone around you isn't who they say they are? Recently, the alphabet agencies in DC have been running these very strange psychological operations to make you believe you know something that you really don't. What is it? Well, I'm sure a lot of people have seen these pictures, and there's a bunch of guys standing around in civilian clothes, but they all seem to have kind of the same haircut, the same sunglasses, watches. They think that they're undercover, but they're not. You see, that's the idea that they want you to have. Do you really think the FBI would be this stupid? To all gather and conglomerate in one area, all with their sunglasses on, all with military brush cuts. Do you think they would be this dumb? If they were truly in an undercover operation, that they would act this way? No, but they want you to think you've caught them. Let me say it again. They want you to think that you've exposed them and that you know how, so that their real agents can infiltrate your groups, infiltrate your prepper groups, your survivalist groups, your militias, because you think you already know what you should be looking for, when the exact opposite is true. This is something that we're going to talk about at the Patreon channel. I served in military intelligence. Believe me, they're not this dumb. But there is a way, a foolproof, 100% way to identify somebody in government service who's attempting to make you believe they're just a civilian. And they won't even know they've done it. That's the best part. It's a very simple, easy little test, and it'll tell you exactly who they are. Now, I would absolutely love to have you guys join us. It's fully refundable up to 90 days, lowest allowable level. If you sign up for an entire year, it's only, I think, 90 cents per month. Believe me, it's info you're definitely going to want to have. Now, how many of you are familiar with Sheriff Grady Judd out of Polk County, Florida? I'm sure many of you are. He's very, very popular. He's very animated and loquacious. He has all of his visual aids that he uses when he talks about the arrests that he makes down in South Central Florida, basically criminals and traffickers and whatever. Well, recently, this was 19 August 2022, he did this 42-minute deal where they made this huge, and I mean massive bust of traffickers, and it was just tons and tons of stuff, suitcases full, coming out of LAX. And it shows exactly how they did it, how they used the wiretaps, who was involved. He goes through all of this stuff, and it makes you ask a question. Well, why are they doing it? Well, that's an easy question to answer, isn't it? Drugs and things like this, they're very dangerous. They cause death. They destroy families. They ruin lives. Of course, we need to be taking this kind of effort to remove these things from society. But what about things that are more dangerous than this? That are well within our ability to get rid of, but we don't? Florida Maquis, are you saying there are things more dangerous than drug traffickers? I'm not saying it. The CDC and the government is saying it. For those of you that are unaware of where Polk County is, it's right here, just southwest of Orlando. It intercepts the I-4 corridor that runs from Daytona, Orlando, Tampa. A lot of illicit things go on through here. So they have their hands full, believe me. But let's just look at the facts. U.S. drug overdoses break record. Goes right along with this. 1 death occurred every 5 minutes in the third straight record-setting year. This is back from 11 May. Now, what's the idea of using? Why do people use? They want to escape. They want to not feel bad. They want to not feel pain. They want to feel happy. That's the idea. They want to escape the pain and feel good. And whatever they can find to get their hands on to do that, they'll do it. But this isn't even the worst thing. This isn't even the worst thing. There's something worse that people use for the exact same reason, but nobody's doing anything about it. U.S. life expectancy plummeting. The average lifespan of an American, remember the greatest nation in the world, has declined to the same level all the way back in 96. Is that 28 years ago? The average American's life expectancy fell back that far only in 2 years. First 2-year drop recorded since 61 to 63. But there's a reason. And they go through all of this unintentional injuries but what's the big killer of Americans? What's the big killer of Americans? Researchers studying the decline in life expectancy have blamed high rates of pre-existing conditions like obesity and heart disease for the U.S. outsized losses during the pandemic compared to 19 of its economic peers. Obesity and heart disease beats out everything. It is the number one killer. But nobody does anything about it. Nobody even calls it immoral, much less illegal. What this has done to America, just in my lifetime, has been staggering. And to be very honest, back when I was in high school in the 80s and 90s, we had Dairy Queen, and Wendy's, and Arby's, and Pizza Hut, and McDonald's. But what's the difference? Well, the difference is this. They closed at decent hours, and there wasn't this huge push to be happy all the time. You see, we ate fast food occasionally late at night. Not at 2 o'clock in the morning like you do at Taco Bell. But we had other things out there that didn't include the internet, by the way. There was no internet in the 80s and 90s. That made us happy. Now, is there a way to fix the problem? There sure is. In fact, this is 427,000 views, 31 December 2014. It's the Patriot Nurse talking about how she lost 70 pounds. 70 pounds. I'm sure a lot of you look at the Patriot Nurse and are like, wow, 70 pounds? Really? Yeah, 70 pounds. But she would tell you something that would shake a lot of preppers to their core. Because they've been doing what over the last 25 years? Stockpiling food. Now, the proof is in the pudding. Anybody who's seen the Patriot Nurse Instagram can see that what she says about juice fasting works. It doesn't matter what picture, what angle you look at. Whatever she's doing works. It's not just lip service. Now, I'd like to play a quick minute of something that she says that a lot of people in my audience would shake their head and say, no, 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 but it's the truth. Here you go.
So with fasting and how it relates to prepping, I think that there's a very valuable point here that we need to touch on. Okay. You hear a lot of people say this, that whenever people don't eat for 3 or 4 days, they're going to go crazy. That's possible. But let me submit this to you, okay? Your body is not going to die without food. Without water, certainly, yes. But your body can live just fine without food for an extended period of time. Calories are what we need to sustain life. Calories and water, okay? There is nothing saying that your calories have to come in the form of food. Ooh, mind-blowing right there. The longest fast that I ever did was a 21-day clear liquid, mixed liquid fast. Okay, so basically during this 21-day period, I had water, herbal teas, fresh juices, and vegetable broths, simple vegetable broths, like no oils or animal products added whatsoever. Okay.
No food, 21 days. And she is fine. Healthy, happy, productive. No food for 21 days. And we know for a fact that these places are killing us. It was bad 10 years ago. Now they can't even get kids into the military. And she's just one source. Earlier today, she did a live talking about the United States is going to break up. Good. Good. If it means that we can start to separate values, that's absolutely fantastic. Good buddy, Tim Bassett, up in Jacksonville. He's made a few comments the last couple of weeks. These militia types that he goes to train with, some of them can't even do one pull-up. Can't even climb over a 5-foot wall. Guy's in his 60s wearing a mask with an altitude mask on. It's just basically needing and wanting to. But do we promote this? No, we don't. We call things moral that are immoral, and we call immoral things moral. And the numbers are staggering. Now, why am I talking about this? Why am I still talking about this, some are saying? It's because of the backward attitude. You know, the Bible says they will call good evil and evil good. Food prices going up, pardon me, might be the best thing that ever happened to us. Think about that for a minute. Might be the best thing that ever happened to Americans. Now, people have come to my channel and said, Florida Maquis, you talk about a lot of immoral things. You talked about prostitution. You talked about, people and infidelity and all this kind of stuff. Comparatively speaking, this is nothing compared to obesity. Nothing whatsoever. Some people said, Florida Maquis, I just don't have time to exercise. I've got kids. I've got a family. I've got too much going on. Jennifer, Veterans for Truth, has a teenage girl and 2 young boys and a husband and a home to take care of, and she exercises and works out, watches what she eats. Proof. This guy's 63 years old. Now, here's what I wanted to share. It's going to probably rub some people the wrong way. When men get to a certain size, certain level of morbid obesity, certain things stop working. Certain things start happening in their relationships. My wife has no desire for sex. What can I do to get our sex lives back on track? Gee, fatty, I wonder. What could you do to not gross out your wife? See, to me, this is unfaithfulness. And I don't know how you could describe it as any other thing. It's unfaithfulness. It's described as a deadly sin in the Bible. If she goes and finds somebody That's on him. He drove her away. I used this picture in a few videos back from the 90s, and people looked at us and go, wow, look how great shape they're in. This was normal. I mean, they were a little bit skinny in the 90s, but I was built a lot like this when I was in the military, generally speaking. I think Ben Browder's a few inches taller than I am, but generally speaking, this is how I was built. And I wouldn't describe myself as some world-class heartthrob at the time. It was just normal. Now, you ready for the bizarre moment? Out of all of the things that you could drive out of your neighborhood, this is a picture from Arlington, Texas. There's this house where these people have this huge fence around the house with a metal gate in front with tinted windows, and inside they had basically a swingers club going on. And the entire neighborhood got together and drove them out because they didn't approve of what was going on behind a fence and closed doors and tinted windows. Arlington, Texas moves to shut down swingers club. They got the city involved. But this is moral. We talked about this yesterday. People using high-tech machinery to slaughter others. I wonder if they wanted to go fully realistic with this, if they would just start throwing around chunks of bowels and brains and skin and pipe in people screaming and yelling and begging and pleading, and then add in all the smells. I wonder if people would enjoy the videos more. You see, I talked about this idea that people put in financial stressful positions might be forced to do things like what goes on in South America all the time. Sometimes women on weekends will go out and do out calls to support the family, or in calls. But would it be more moral for a member of the family to go get a job working behind the counter of the local cannabis dispensary? You see, which brings us all the way back to here, supporting the drug industry. Or what about a job in fast food? Oh, well, that's perfectly respectable, Maquis. That's what people should do. Fast food is the primary killer of North Americans. But that's their choice, Maquis. So would be drugs. So would be drugs. See, when people go into a fast food place and they choose to eat all this stuff, we say, well, it's free. It's a free country, Maquis. They can go in and they can eat whatever they want. Why does that then not apply here? Why do we have huge organizations that we pay millions of dollars to intercept traffickers? Do they not have the same freedom? Well, drugs kill people. Drugs kill people? Really? But fast food doesn't? Fast food absolutely kills way more people than drugs. Way more. And has for a much longer time. America's top 10 fears. 2021, loved ones dying. Loved ones becoming ill. Mass shootings. All these things. Nobody dying of heart disease, or I don't see anybody's fear here being a brothel moves in next door. Civil unrest, high medical bills. Nobody's afraid of a brothel moving in next door, but funny thing, when one does, everybody bands together and has it shut down. Even though the threats to society are real and palpable, that we're doing nothing about. This being the primary one. If you are free to make such poor decisions as to go eat McDonald's or Taco Bell 3 and 5 and 8 times a week, why do you not have the same freedom to pump yourself full of any other drug. And when the answers are out there, literally out there, and people know the facts, yet choose evil, how can we blame government for anything? Truly, how can we blame government for anything? Trained nurse comes out and says it. You don't need food. She went 21 days without it. On broth and juice and tea. Exercise. Fresh air. Vitamin D. Age has nothing to do with it. This guy's in his 60s. Lives right up the road. I mean, whatever excuse you want to make. People talk about morality. People talk about immorality. People talk about, well, what's right and what's wrong and what direction should we go? I mean, we don't know what, the future holds. Nobody does. But when we're living in a society right now that is so morally backward that a man can marry a woman, gain 150 pounds, and when she says no and finds somebody else, she's the problem? She's the problem. These places that make millions and billions of dollars that are responsible for so much death and destruction, but we call that honorable. That's gainful employment. Perfectly legal. I love the name of this dispensary, by the way, because it's the perfect name. It's called Beyond Hello. Yep, that's right. You start using here, you're going to go beyond hello. You're going to skip everything in the middle. It won't matter, and you're going to go right to your permanent goodbye. It's like the do not pass go, do not collect $200 Monopoly thing. Your life will basically be a blink and a blur, and it'll be over if you start early on the cannabis nonsense. Because that's what it's designed to do. To help you forget. To help you avoid. So that you don't have to deal with anything. Why is all that so moral? But this isn't? Really, this isn't moral. I'm not saying it's not ideal, but comparatively speaking, I've never heard of a society in history that has ever collapsed because of prostitution. I've heard of societies collapsing because of what we're going through right now. Sloth and laziness and avarice and covetousness and all that good stuff. But that's the ride we're in for. If we don't get our head out of our, you know what? And oh, by the way, this comment, this premiere that she had made about the U.S. breaking up, best thing ever. Best breakup ever. Best choice ever. See, just kind of like this. See, this is the U.S. right now. This is the U.S. You would be a fool to not leave. Has not been faithful. D.C., this is literally the embodiment of Washington, D.C. And you are well within your rights to leave. For your own sanity, for your own health, for your own well-being. That's why we all should. Even if we don't get... the Patriot Nurse was talking about the Constitutional Convention where we can balkanize. Even if we can't make it happen in reality, in de facto, we can't make it happen in law. In fact, in reality, we should do it anyway. Kind of like a spouse not granting you a divorce. Leave anyway. Leave anyway. This was only the 90s. This is what people looked like in the 90s. Most people. This is how far we've come in 30 years. I won't show the picture, but you should see what happened to MacGyver. Richard Dean Anderson, the guy that was kind of the main character in Stargate. Go look at him recently to show you what's happened. And it hasn't happened to all the other characters. That's the thing about it. Amanda Tapping, Terrell Rothery, Michael Shanks. All of the others have taken care of themselves. Most of them. But Richard Dean Anderson, he let himself go. So I'll leave it there. But once again, this was a game. This was a game they were playing. And there's an easy, super easy way to determine if anybody, male, female, old, young, is working for the government. If they're not who they say they are, it's a piece of cake way of doing it. We'll have the video up no later than Monday morning for sure, probably this coming weekend. And I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.